Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are in a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Grillin' JR with the voice of wrestling, the Hall of Famer himself, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to you, Conrad. It's been a very busy few days for your old fat boy here, but I've had a great time. Great hospitality in Georgia, great hospitality in Florida. Survived the holidays with some interesting times. So I'm excited, man. It's a good year. My birthday's Friday, I think it is, the 3rd.
How about that? Yeah, tomorrow is your birthday. Happy early birthday from everyone here in Wrestling Land.
Yeah, I take guess. You know, just Jim Ross, Norman, Oklahoma should get it. It's like saying something to Sheriff Andy Taylor in Mayberry. You don't need a mailbox. You just need a name and a town. so no, seriously, I appreciate the warm wishes, and it's good. It's kind of cool. So, you know, that was one thing. Another thing I missed about my little Jan, she made every one of my birthdays special. There's always one thing that she worked her ass off to get me. Normally a John Wayne collectible or Mickey Mantle or some of those things that I've collected over the years. And it was such a big deal to her to make me happy. And I'm really trying to pick up where she left off, and with my gift giving and my interaction with people. I've even quit. I had one guy jump in my Facebook account today and tell me how he was so embarrassed that I was working for AEW because they were just horrible. And so, you know, you say, hey, look, I can't believe you come onto my Facebook page and give me this shit. Why do I care what you think about my career choice? Really? So, and it's just the age we live in, man. Some wrestling fans do their goddamnedest to make themselves look pet coon fucking goofy. And it embarrasses the rest of us that are semi-normal. Note, I said semi-normal. Well, it makes no sense, Conrad. It really doesn't. Think about it.
Well, there's nothing normal about what we're covering today. We're going to do something pretty interesting. Just yesterday, we had Tony Schiavone watch the episode where Mick Foley won the world title for the first time back on January 4th, 1999. Of course, that was a tape delayed show. And on the show we're going to watch right now, Tony Schiavone would give that spoiler telling you not to change the channel, blah, blah, blah. That's going to put a lot of butts in the seats. Pretty iconic thing to have him go back and watch the show that he was selling against. And now we're going to have the voice of Raw come take a look at Nitro. It's the Finger Poke of Doom episode. This is what went head to head with Foley's world title win. It's January 4th, 1999. And for the first time ever here on Grillin' JR, we're going to do it in watch along format. Yes, we could tell Jim about all the news and notes behind the scenes, and we'll do that, but we're going to give Jim a little bit of context. And I think this will be the first time ever that a wrestling fan has had the opportunity to watch Nitro with Jim Ross. Jim, have you ever seen this show?
Hell no. Never. Right now. We're, as they say here in Oklahoma, Conrad, and I'm sure down in Alabama, we're fixing to. I was a little busy that night. Ironically, that night I was still in the IR, the injured reserve, from that Bell's palsy shot again. And I've said this a lot. I think I've said it in shows that you and I have done, like we're going to be doing in England and and Scotland coming up in February, that of all the matches that I wanted to call that I didn't get to call, that was it. Foley winning his title, because it came full circle for me, because I worked so hard to get him hired, and because thought he would never make it, and he overachieved immensely. So I didn't get to call. I was sitting home, my face in paralysis, drooling. So, but I did watch it, but I didn't watch Nitro. I don't remember. I don't think I've ever watched a full episode of Nitro in my entire life.
Well, today's the day, man. I'm excited about it. If you're at home, we want you to do this with us. Fire up your WWE network. Go to Monday Nitro. Now, the way you'll get there, the way Jim and I got there, is you click in ring, scroll down till you see the Nitro icon. Somewhere in there, you'll be able to select the year. You want to go to 1999. Scroll all the way to the bottom, and you should see the very first episode from 1999, January 4th, 1999. This episode goes 2 hours and 22 minutes. So this should give us plenty of time to, have a lot of conversation about what was going on back in 1999, maybe tie in a little modern discussion as well. So I'm going to give you a count of 3 here. I'll do 3, 2, 1, play. And when I say play, you press play. Jim, are you ready?
I'm ready, Conrad.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, play. Here we see the open. Kevin Nash circling Bill Goldberg here. That's the main event. That's the main event. That's what they're hyping. That's what they're talking about. This is going to air right before Tony does the longest show open in the history of cable television. I'm kidding. He was very good. We're seeing clips here from Starrcade, and this is where Goldberg famously, lost the streak. Kevin Nash would be the guy selected to end the streak. There, of course, there's going to be some interference and some shenanigans with Scott Hall and a cattle prod. And that'll spell the end of the streak. I know you weren't watching Nitro, but you at least had the streak on your radar. What'd you think of an undefeated streak in wrestling? I mean, because it certainly caught fire for WCW with Goldberg here.
Yeah, he was. Bill came at the right place at the right time. And to be honest about it, and no disrespect to Billy, who I've known since high school when I was a football official, he was playing for Tulsa Edison High as a dominating D lineman. As we're getting now a good shot at the Georgia Dome. That Tony said over 40,000 fans were. That's a great accomplishment. If that's accurate. It looks accurate. But Goldberg hit the right place at the right time. I think, I might be wrong about this. It's going to probably sound self-serving. I think that Austin's popularity and his look did good things for Goldberg.
Of course. And
so, it was really a festive atmosphere that night. I like the Nitro Girls. Is there any famous people in Nitro Girls that I'm looking at that I don't know? I don't recognize?
Shawn Michaels' wife is in the background on the left. And of course, that's Diamond Dallas Page's former wife, Kimberly, right there front and center.
Okay. Well, they're all attractive ladies. They got a nice little skin tight outfits on, which should make Jim Barnett, oh my boys, pay attention. So they're pretty good.
Look at all the signs in the background. That stands out to me now. There are still signs here and there on TV these days in 2019, or I guess 2020 now, but man, it's just a sea of signs. Everybody wants to express themselves. I guess now they do it on social media though.
Seems like it. We both get our share of it from time to time. I think also in that era, in that 99 period of time, some of the strongest emotional investments from fans to our product and to the pro wrestling brand were ongoing. And nothing was more evident than what we're seeing here now, this big crowd shot, pyro going off. I called the first game of any kind ever in the Georgia Dome back in 92, I believe it was. 91 or 2, whatever it was, when it opened, when I was working for the Falcons as a part-time gig while I was doing wrestling as well. So it's kind of cool to see that building packed like that for wrestling. It's good for the business, man. It was a big win for everybody, I thought.
We should mention, as you said at the top of the show, Tony Schiavone would announce that there's over 40,000. There's actually 38,809 total in the building. It was set up for 46,000, 34,788 paid. The gate was a new company record, $930,735. So while it might be easy to say, oh, they didn't sell it out, $938,000 for TV is fucking incredible.
Well, today's fans, some of today's fans, I should say better, and I apologize for that overstatement. Many of today's fans would point that out. that there's, well, they didn't sell out. They didn't sell out. I've got empty seats. And then, of course, if you're there, you want to take pictures of all those empty seats so you can share that really important information to the world.
Well, you bring up a fascinating thing that has become fairly popular in the last 5 or 6 years to take a picture of empty seats and post it on social media to say, hey, here's the house at SmackDown, or hey, here's the house at Raw, or hey, here's the house at Dynamite. Mm-hmm. What's your take on that?
It's a societal woe that we need to get away from. And I think our politicians have done a hell of a job in leading us down that, on this side of the aisle, the outside of the aisle, the president of the United States sending out childish tweets. The Democrats can't figure out, they can't whine if they're whining their watch or scratching their ass or scratching their watch or whining their ass. They have no idea. So all these negative stuff that we hear every day in media, every single fucking day is negative, negative, negative. Oh, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. Well, then you're a fool. Because quite frankly, the issue is we should be fans of wrestling. Conrad and I are fans of wrestling. We're making a living off doing this stuff, and we love it, and we're grateful. But God Almighty, why is the incessant need to bitch and moan about every single brand is beyond me, as Glacier comes out to a rousing ovation.
Let's talk about Glacier. I'm sure you guys had this on your radar. The presentation of the character, feels like something from the WWF in the mid 90s, but by the time Glacier would actually debut on TV a few years prior to this, late 1996, the NWO was here, and man, it was a new world. This sort of cartoonish presentation had fallen by the wayside. Now, instead of Diesel and Razor Ramon, we had Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. We're going with a much more realistic presentation on Nitro. What did you think of the concept of what they were trying to do with the Glacier, sort of piggybacking the success of the Mortal Kombat video game and the snowy, lasery entrance and just the overall presentation?
I didn't have a problem with it other than I thought it was a year or two too late. It wasn't timely. It wasn't cutting edge. I was never a big fan of when the WWE went through all those changes. We did, we had a hockey goon, and we had a plumber, and we had, all these different things. Occupational
gimmicks.
Yeah. It felt so forced and unrealistic. The thing about WCW at that time, as Bill DeMott comes out with Jimmy Hart, the ubiquitous Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart is the Tyson's food of wrestling. Tyson's food in Arkansas is everywhere. And that means that their chicken shit is ubiquitous. It makes the greatest fertilizer in the world, but it's everywhere. And good old Jimmy Hart has been everywhere, God bless him. But nonetheless, it's good to be friends with Hogan. We see a lot of that, you see it nowadays a lot too, where you get second generation wrestlers and third generation wrestlers and friends of wrestlers. I got my job because I knew this guy, and I got my job because I knew that guy. And so here you go with this thing. So there's a rare arm drag by Bill DeMott. I also call Bill DeMott my favorite fullback. If I had a fullback in wrestling, DeMott would be my guy. If it's 3rd and 1, that big son of a bitch is getting the ball. And I used to kid him about that all the time. But he's very athletic for 300 pounds.
Big time athletic for that weight. This is a guy who I kind of thought would have been on Vince's radar before he actually wound up there.
Yeah, he had all the tools, right? He had the size and the strength and the look that the WWE covets and has coveted over the years. But he's a very athletic big man. That's what I always liked about Bill. He was physically tough, mentally tough, and an athletic big man. Sometimes, as according to some guys that were taught by him, I thought his coaching was excellent. But some guys didn't like getting their ass chewed out, and they couldn't handle the tough love. So, is there a chance he might have gone overboard? Hell, I don't know. He didn't train me. But all I know is that when I watched him train people, I was impressed with what I saw.
From a training perspective, do you have some philosophies, or are you more results based? A guy like Tom Pritchard, has cranked out many legends, and obviously Bill DeMott has success stories there as well. Do you think training is more, what's your approach to that? What makes a good trainer, and how do you judge what's a good trainer?
I think a good trainer has to have patience has to have product knowledge so he can share with his students more than just how to take a flat back bump, where he talks about his love, her love of the game, and shares that passion with the students, and hopefully it'll be infectious. But you got to be fundamentally sound, because the first thing you got to teach is safety and fundamental soundness, and not the sizzle. Teach the steak first.
See, Glacier here giving the business to Jimmy Hart. Oh, and wouldn't you know it, down goes Jimmy. Jimmy's got to be one of the hardest working men in the history of wrestling. Does he not? I mean, this guy, certain nights he'd have 4 or 5 matches. Yeah.
Jimmy just loves the business, man. I mean, going from the Gentrys and being a singer in the rock group or the musical group, the Gentrys, Keep On Dancing was a big hit. Going to high school there in Memphis, getting hooked up with the King early on. Jimmy's paid his dues, man, and he's a good guy. He's a good guy. And as Bill DeMott just took care of Glacier, he just melted his ice. I said, I think Glacier is, like I said, Ray Lloyd's a good guy, football coach, teacher, college degreed, and all that good stuff that I covet. I just think his gimmick came a little past the prime of that sort of gimmick. But nonetheless, he got on his big card, opened the card up. Now there's a nice 3-shot. Those guys are doing their announcing from a remote location in the arena. As Zbyszko goes, "Oh, hi, Larry. Hi, Tony. I beat Bruno once." Mike.
You've talked about this before, I think, but you preferred being ringside to call the action, not out here watching on a monitor, right?
Absolutely. I've done this thing in so many different ways. I've done voiceovers in Cowboy Bill Watts' barn. I've done them in the AEW or the Access TV studio. Watched on television with my buddy Josh Barnett, who's back in Belford now, by the way. I wish him the best of luck. Good dude, man. Good dude. And whoever's going to fight that son of a bitch better bring you lunch, is all I can tell you. But Larry and Tony and Mike did a good job. They all have different roles. And Tony did a hell of a job of keeping the rudder in the water, because I'm sure I don't imagine that Zbyszko was a guy that's going to come early to do prep. And Shivani's going to do prep without a doubt. And of course, Tenay, the professor, he came prepared. So I like their work. I always like their work. And, Larry really tried hard. I tried to help Larry get a job in WWE at one point in time. It's just what didn't work out. It's the right place, right time. There was the openings that, he was qualified for. And I don't know, he left there with a great deal of love either at some point in time. And as we know, wrestling promoters hold grudges.
So we see a shot here now of Eric Bischoff in the back of the limo with some WCW brethren, of course. Buff Bagwell's there, Scott Steiner's there, the former Mr. Perfect is there. And we're fresh off the heels of Starrcade, where unbelievably, and this is a real sentence, Eric Bischoff beat Ric Flair at Starrcade. And then the following week, Rick comes out and puts his entire career on the line to face Eric Bischoff in a rematch. So it's his career versus control of WCW. One of the more iconic Ric Flair promos here, where he's stripping down and throwing cash in the crowd, and he's fired up. He's on fire for Eric Bischoff here. And
he's tearing up hundreds.
Yes, he is.
Real money. Now he's taking those alligator shoes off and throwing them summits long a Hail Mary by the Nates. Now he's down to his drawers. And isn't it really cool to see Mean Gene's facial expressions? Gene could say more by not saying anything than any broadcaster I've ever known. Look at this look on his face. He's looking at Flair like, I can't believe I'm standing here, this crazy man. So, but they were great. They had great chemistry, Nate and Mean Gene.
Yeah, one of the more iconic promos here. He's calling for Bischoff. He wants the rematch. And famously, he's going to lose the rematch to Ric Flair. So now Ric Flair is in control of WCW. And here we see the Giant. And man, we are just right around the corner from him showing up for you guys. He's going to show up at St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So like 6 weeks after this show, he works with you guys. How hot to try it was Vince to get the Giant on his payroll?
Very hot. Shane was probably hotter. Shane, when I started talking to Paul White, AKA the Big Show, or the Giant, creatively named, the giant, the tall, the medium, the extra large. What's next? We're just going to name wrestlers or sizes. But Shane asked me every day how things are going. And I said, Shane, I told you the other day I'm going to meet him on Friday. Today's Wednesday. Things are going exactly the same as they were the last time you asked me yesterday afternoon. So everybody was motivated to get him. I remember going down and recruiting him. I think Jerry Briscoe was with me in Tampa. Because Jerry knew his way around, and wasn't no Uber at that point. And we went to Big Show's condo on the water, beautiful place. And he was eating protein, like unbelievable amounts of protein, like beans and meat. I told him, I said, man, I would not want to go on any long car trips with you those damn beans, because your farts could contain methane and could shatter glass. And then we found out that his junior college basketball coach at Northern Oklahoma Junior College was the guy that I officiated basketball for when I was working the JUCO circuit. And Paul played for him at Northern Oklahoma JUCO in Tonkawa, Oklahoma, before he went to Wichita State. So we had a little common ground there. But he was a big get for us, no pun intended. But we really, really wanted Paul White in the company, and it was a good hire because even though he wasn't always booked strategically, even though I still believe he was drastically overexposed, as Arn Anderson and a bunch of folks make their way to the arena with Nate, in like a parade here with the good old Doug Dillinger running security.
In tow, by the way, all the three-quarters of the Flair children. There's Reed Flair, there's what would be Charlotte in the back, and of course, for about to be U.S. champion, David Flair, and leading the parade, Arn Anderson, and Ric Flair's our caboose here as they make their way inside the Georgia Dome. Lots of fanfare on the outside, but as a reminder, Ric Flair is now in control of World Championship Wrestling. So
isn't Ashley adorable? She was adorable then. Just a good old Reed. Gosh, that would bring back memories. Man, can you imagine even thinking of how great Charlotte would become as a wrestler?
No, it's hard to imagine, as she's making what's probably her Nitro debut. I know she would be on a few episodes, but yeah, who would know that she was going to be the queen of Monday Night less than 20 years later?
She's the queen of women's wrestling, period. And there's WWE's done a great job of recruiting these women and then making them mean something. That's good booking. And, I'm a big Becky Lynch fan because she always reminded me of a female Stone Cold, attitudinal, non-conventional, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as just that big, blonde, bigger than life character, I told Rich this, and I don't know if he liked it or not. He didn't beat me up, but I mean, she was what Hogan was in the 80s. Charlotte is now to WWE. The big blonde, super amazing look, head turner. But she's so much better than any female. And I don't know, I haven't seen that many men that are just that much better than her right now. So if any, she's as good as I've ever seen. And she keeps getting better and better. So I'm happy about that as the entourage, the Nature Boy entourage gets ready to make their walk down the ramp. So this might be the first time, folks, if you're watching this, that Charlotte Flair has walked the aisle.
Yeah. How about that? I didn't think about that, but that's probably right.
There's Dean Malenko on the crutches. Dean works for us in AEW. He's one of our agents or producers. Dean's battling Parkinson's, but what a great attitude he has and what a hell of an asset he is for us. And as we continue to dot our shelves with more talent and high quality talent going forward, which will take some time, they're going to avail the tutelage and coaching of a guy like Dean Malenko. That can't help but get him better.
By the way, Dean gets along with everyone but Tony Schiavone. I'm sure you heard they had a knockdown drag out brawl in catering a few weeks back.
Yeah, right. Or what, a biscuit?
Yes.
A bagel?
Yes. I think DDP was involved because there were gluten-free treats and Malenko got the last one, and everybody knows that Schiavone doesn't eat gluten now. So it was knockdown drag out. It was a Pier 6 brawl. And you
think Tony understands why he doesn't eat gluten? Or he just read it on a label somewhere and says, I'll try that.
I think DDP just said, bro, you don't need gluten. And that was enough for him.
Mean Gene back with the Nates, all dressed up in a nice gray suit, short haircut. Malenko's there. Benoit, David Flair. Boy, this is like a homecoming, isn't it?
And you know what? It's as silly as it seems. The fans are on fire for it. Everybody's on their feet. They look forward to, especially in this era, a Ric Flair interview. And we're probably, 14 years removed, 13 years removed from his like peak WTBS era promo. And now he's sort of reinvented himself here on Nitro.
Kind of reminds you what Benoit, what Jericho's doing.
Yeah.
You reinvent. You look in the mirror and say, I can fix this. I can change that. I can be more of this. But his demeanor right now is very businesslike in his promo. His haircut's very businesslike in his promo. It's ironic that this is kind of the haircut that Jim Herd wanted him to have all along.
Of course, here Flair's calling out Eric Bischoff, saying, you tried to make me feel small over the last year or two. You tried to fire me, and I could fire you, but that would be too easy. Instead, I'm going to keep you around and make you feel small like you did for me. So now Tony Schiavone is your boss. I'm going to cut your salary in half. I'm going to make you less visible on camera. And, now instead of you being Tony's boss, Tony's your boss. It's a fun little turnabout here.
Yeah. Good. That's not bad creative at all. I mean, they're not have bad creative at all. And here comes Eric sauntering, nice heel goatee, very, very black hair. And looks in good, and he looks in good shape. Only I wish I was in that good a shape, but he looks good. And I keep my eyes off Charlotte back there in the background. She's I wonder if she's really listening. I think she is, and learning all this, feeling all this emotion, because when you're surrounded by 40K, and in the NFL stadium for a Monday night television show, it's pretty damn cool.
It's a big deal.
So Bischoff makes as Vince McMahon would say, the Willie Loman walk. First time he told me this, he's going to do the Willie Loman, JR. So of course, without sounding ignorant in front of Vince, I go to somebody that I didn't care if they thought I was ignorant. And I said, what the fuck is the Willie Loman walk? Oh, they told me. So I got it. Hey, look, Eric's a little great in that goatee, man. Back in the day, looked bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, on top of the world. So, and he's a perfect heel, because heels should be the kind of people that you will load up the kids and move and take them from home to watch them get their ass whipped. And I got to believe that a lot of the 40,000 fans here are here to see Eric Bischoff get his ass whipped by Ric Flair.
By the way, the Georgia Dome was a great building. I don't know how many of our listeners ever had a chance to go there, but unfortunately they tore this thing down. They built a new monstrosity right next to it, and it's got all the state of the art, this and that. But I was in that stadium, for maybe the last football game they played there, certainly the last college football game they played there. And I couldn't believe they were getting rid of it. I mean, it was such an iconic building. I mean, from Deion Sanders to all the great wrestling moments, and now no moss. Do you have any favorite Georgia Dome memories?
Yeah, the games I called there. I did 2 Monday night football games there. Atlanta and the Cowboys, and Atlanta and the 49ers. And we got woodshedded. Me and the Falcons got woodshedded on both games. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I did a 3-hour Atlanta Falcon pregame show on the Atlanta Falcon radio network. Of course, WSB was the flagship. And I had one of the great times of my life. They're having a lot of fun in this promo here, just rubbing into Bischoff. So they're setting the stage for later. Steve McMichael is there. I hadn't thought of him in a long time.
Yeah, he's the guy I first heard use the term scholarship. He talked about his wives being on scholarship. And I thought that was the funniest description ever. In the background, we see David Flair. Of course, David Flair is, maybe one of a long list of guys who tried to follow in their dad's footsteps, and for whatever reason were thrown in maybe a little too soon, whereas, Ashley goes through developmental and then becomes Charlotte and really cuts her teeth in NXT. It feels like WCW threw David on TV in a prime spot without having any sort of proper training. Is there another character in wrestling history you could sort of compare him to in that regard?
Of course. Eric Watts.
Yeah.
Not ready for prime time. Got a break because of who he was, what his last name was, but he wasn't ready. It's not knocking Eric. He was not trained properly and long enough, quite frankly. Now they're doing the Pee Wee Anderson thing. It's tough to see. Pee Wee was such a good guy. He was Cowboy Heart Pee Wee Anderson to be the valet, for lack of a better term, for Junkyard Dog. And Dog was smoking so much weed back then, eating candy, that Pee Wee carried a bank bag of coins to be able to feed to the candy machine in the hotels when Dog was hungry. Pee Wee would go get me a Hershey bar, go get me a Milky Way, go get me a Snickers. So he carried huge bags of coins, so he'd never run out of coins for JYD's munchies.
My goodness. One of the more iconic segments here, I know you didn't see it, but Pee Wee blew a call one week, and the next week they fired him, or the next day after the pay-per-view, they fired him. So then fast forward a week later, Pee Wee would, bring his wife and kids, and they'd say, listen, I've had cancer, and, my family needs this job, and we need the insurance, and I'm the only provider, I've got 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. And so Bischoff looks at the kids and says, tell your daddy he's still fired. And they got tons of heat, tons of hate. And so now here's a bit of a redemption story. Ric Flair hiring him back. So very cool moment, especially if you'd been following along in these storylines, and a nice moment for Pee Wee, who unfortunately is no longer with us. Yeah.
It made him whole, storyline wise, it made him whole. And Pee Wee was a very good referee and a reliable guy. That referee role back in those days, especially when you're on the road so much, and a lot of the guys were also on the ring crew, and they wore more than one hat, so to speak. I think some referees now are spoiled, and the art of refereeing. We have a great referee in AEW, and she's just a tremendous, girl Hebner, as they say.
Aubrey Edwards.
Aubrey Edwards is wonderful. She does it the right way. She pays attention. She looks like a real sports official, not some pawn or some goof that's running around, with exaggerated facial expressions. Did you pull his hair? I refereed a long time. I've asked a lot of wrestlers, some of the best in the world, did you pull his hair? I have yet to have one admit to their culpability. Never. It makes us look like idiots. You call what you see and you see what you call. Leave it at that.
I guess I'm in the minority because I always liked when they asked them if they pulled the hair. I mean, we know the answer, but it's just like tradition.
Well, when you and I are flying to the UK in February, I'll ask you a few times.
By the way, we should mention, we'd love to see you across the pond. Come join us inside the ropes. We're going to be there in early February. Of course, we'll get the tour started here in Huntsville, believe it or not, at Stand Up Live. Supershowlive.com is where you can pick up your tickets for Wednesday, February 5th. AEW is going to be up the road at the former VBC, the Von Braun Civic Center. Now I believe it's called Probst Arena. But just a couple of blocks away is Stand Up Live, the comedy club with Tony Schiavone, Jim Ross, and myself. You can snag those tickets right now at supershowlive.com. But Inside the Ropes, throw that in your Google machine. It's insidetheropes.co.uk/JR. And you can come see us in not one, not two, but 3 separate cities. I'm pretty excited about this. Go snag your tickets right now. It's not too late. If you didn't get those over the holiday, you can still pick them up for yourself. Very, very affordable and a fun experience for all.
Yeah, we're going to guarantee that. And the Vince McMahon of Europe, Kenny McIntosh, will see to it that you have a great time. And especially the VIP folks, that's what look, I don't know when Conrad and I'll be able to come back. We don't have anything scheduled. So until we do, take advantage of when we're there and go VIP on any of our shows. That we meet, we greet, we talk, we chat, we take photos, we sign your swag, all this other good stuff. And Conrad and I are the kind of guys that enjoy talking to other fans. So you're going to find that out there. So check with Kenny and make his day, order some, get some tickets. Because I'll tell you this for sure. You can't go if you ain't got a ticket. Sorry. So get a ticket and join us.
London, February 7th, Manchester, February 8th, Glasgow, February 9th, the 7th, 8th, and 9th, all through Inside the Ropes. Looking forward to being over there with some of our wrestling friends across the pond.
And you know, Conrad, Kenny's got some nice ladies working for him too.
I can't wait to meet them.
You never met them?
No.
Oh my God, Connie, oh my boy. Oh, they're wonderful. They're just like little sisters.
Alrighty.
And we'll be just like we lived in West Virginia. No, I'm kidding. Kidding. That's a joke, folks. It's not a good joke. Did say that? No, they're good. Thea and Jennifer and gosh, all those ladies there. He's got 2 or 3, 4. They're just so efficient, and they're not hard, and they're easy on the eyes, and they're very friendly. They're nice people. So we'll go on stage feeling good about ourselves because that's the atmosphere that we work in with Kenny and his people.
A very young Booker T here now.
Yep.
And Booker T, of course, is going to go on to be one of the tippy top guys. Mm-hmm. He's not quite yet there. He wouldn't get his world title win until I guess the following year. But here he's been television champion, of course, one of the most decorated tag team wrestlers in WCW history with Harlem Heat. And man, he just powered him up there, dude. Wow.
This is a match, a little rugged. Booker T gets a spin-a-rooney in. I'm suggesting you go home sooner than later because I'm already tired of this match. But Booker's got a plethora of charisma, and he's following the line, the trend of the day. Let's go. I'm a big guy. I don't need to do this, but I'm going to go to the top anyway because that's what you people seem to want. So he hits a missile drop kick. I'm begging you to pin him, and he does. So it's over. Booker T wins a mercifully short match. The crowd loves it, and Booker T would become a player, and he still is a player there, working for my buddy Jacob Owen on Fox with Renee Young. He's a great communicator. I'm the guy that Booker T mentioned in his Hall of Fame speech that encouraged Booker to not hide from his past. Embrace his past so he can help others. Share what you did wrong and how to correct it. And he's done an amazing job of building a life for himself and his lovely wife, Charmel, their twin children. I got a lot of time for Booker T and his family. I guess he's back. The Nitro Girls.
I got to tell you, I'm really surprised that this has not caught on more in wrestling. I know at the very beginning of Raw, there were, ring card ladies, but it does feel like with there being, the big cheerleading contingent in the NFL and the NBA and collegiate sports, that this would be more commonplace, but it's not. The Nitro Girls, one of the innovations that Eric Bischoff gets credit for, but he would say, no, it was all Kimberly's idea.
Good idea, nonetheless. And there they are back at the desk, the Dark Order, Zbyszko, Tony, and Eric.
Well, they're not wearing masks, so I don't know if they're the Dark Order. But hey, I do want to mention the guy that Booker T just beat, Emery Hale, 6'9", 350 pounds. We lost it back in 2006, but he bounced around a little bit. Never actually got a shot in the WWF though, but just based on size, I assumed that would have happened eventually, but it did not. He was here and wrestled in Puerto Rico and did some stuff very briefly with the XWF but supposedly quite the athlete. I mean, to the point where he even had a tryout with the Orioles. So he did some stuff, but didn't catch on.
Didn't have the aptitude for the business. The aptitude meaning to understand when and where and why to execute nuances. And that comes with experience and studying the game. I don't know how big a fan Emery was at that point. Don't know. I didn't know him well at all. But, you had to look at that 6'9" frame and he, that's what got him a second look.
Right.
Unfortunately, he just didn't have the aptitude, unlike the guy that's coming to the ring right now, Chavo Guerrero, who has that Guerrero DNA in him, and he's got a mountain and a world of charisma and attitude and product knowledge.
He's going to be taking on Norman Smiley, who's one of the trainers for NXT now, and he's got his hobby horse there, Jim. That's Pepe. Did you have a hobby horse as a kid?
Hell no. My dad would have beat my ass if he thought something straddling anything other than a girl.
Oh my God.
I'm going to tell you something. A lot of people don't know this, or if they do, I'll remind you again. Norman Smiley is one of the legit tough guys in all of pro wrestling and has been his entire career. He's such a nice, genuine human being and a great coach for the Performance Center there in Orlando. Great employee, great hire, but he is one bad apple. Just thank God he's such a nice human being that he's not a bully and he imposes his will on others. But he's a bad dude, boy, and just a class act. I love Norman. I hope he stays there forever or comes to work someplace else. But he's always going to have a place because he's a great teacher. And that means Norman Smiley is a good communicator.
Tremendous shape here as well.
Yeah, he's a workout freak. Still is. He's still in good shape. And Chavo, of course, Chavo had to step away from the shadow of his dad, who, Chavo Sr., amazing. First guy I ever saw do a moonsault was Chavo Guerrero Sr.
Wow.
Yeah, Chavo, I think they call him Chavo. It might have been Bruce's idea. They called him Chavo Classic at one point in time, but he was great in the Mid-South. If you go back and look at the old Mid-South show open, as Norman just not having a lot of time for this hobby horse, or what the hell you called it. He's in the show open with that moonsault. And I can tell you this for your trivia bus. Who's the guy that he did the moonsault on? If my memory serves correctly, is a wrestler from Puerto Rico named Gustavo Mendoza. I have no idea what his real name is. That might have been it, but Chavo was something special.
So this is really an underrated match. Two very, very talented performers, but maybe at the time during the Monday Night War, a lot of fans, were switching back and forth. So if there was a more interesting character presentation on the other channel, it may have won the quarter hour, but realistically, you'd have to work pretty hard to find two better in-ring performers than the ones we've gotten there right now.
Yeah, they're having a wrestling match. They do their share of spots. The spots become transitions, and then they generally work back into a hold or submission to controlling offensive hold. And you just don't see that a lot nowadays. I think wrestlers don't have the confidence that the audience is going to hang with them if they're working a body part or a hold, and I completely disagree with that. If you're doing it correctly with aggression and anger and bad intentions, working a body part can be extremely, extremely effective. And I can't be unsold on that concept, considering I watched hours and hours of the Anderson brother matches where they would look like they were ripping. You'd want them to stop the match because they're killing this guy in a hammerlock. So it's the old deal. And of course, the guys that are younger guys that don't know how to wrestle, just want to do spots. Look at Chavo here. He's got a big spot coming up. Missile drop kick, found its mark. I don't think they have confidence in their own game because they can't stand to be booed. I was reading something the other day, just today, as a matter of fact, somebody said the children are no different than they ever have been, but their parents are different. And the parents are not teaching discipline and respect. Mm. And I think there's something to be said about that with today's wrestlers. They don't have the confidence that they're going to be, that they can wrestle well enough to not do their goddamn spots. And that was a blocked spot right there, right into a small package over the top. But that didn't need to be done that way. They both tried to do something, add a little wrinkle to a basic wrestling hold, and they shit the bed on that one. And then Norman comes up now with a crossface. Chavo reverses it. Chavo is so underrated. Hey, look, when your brother is Eddie Guerrero, it's kind of like that deal, and Chavo just gets the quick win there, 1, 2, 3. When your brother is Eddie Guerrero, it's kind of like the situation with David Flair and Nate. There's just no way you're ever going to live up to the expectations of your predecessor. And in David's case, that was his dad, best ever. And with Chavo was Eddie Guerrero, and tell me who's better than Eddie Guerrero. Now, here's where you get some 50-50 booking. You got Chavo, the heel, getting a much-needed win. He should have got his ass out there and left with his heat. As it is, he hung around. Norman Smiley, who lost, is making a comeback so he can get his heat back. This is the biggest crock of bullshit trending in wrestling that I've seen in probably the last 10 years. It happens all the time because everybody's trying to treat everybody fairly, Conrad. As they show another look at this thing where Chavo has a beautiful missile dropkick, kaboom, and down goes Smiley. But there's just no reason to come back with that. Leave the crowd wanting more. You got yourself another match if you want it where Norman gets a rematch. As it is now, there's no reason for it because even though he lost, he kicked the shit out of Chavo before he left. Who won in that equation? 50-50 booking sucks.
Hobby Horse comes out on top. Coming up next, we've got Chris Benoit and Horace. So lots of wrestling matches on this. But some of the talent is stuff that you wouldn't normally see on a Nitro. Here, though, we have a 3-hour Nitro. So with that extra hour, some of the talent that you regularly only saw on syndication or on WCW Saturday Night, they finally had a chance to be on the big show, which in theory I'm for. But man, when you pitch a 3-hour wrestling show these days, I think Monday Night Raw has effectively killed the town on that, and fans are not in tune for a 3-hour wrestling show. Do you think that's too much? Because that's
really
the consensus
absolutely.
online.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. You're right. Yes. I agree. Too much. Short attention span we have. Just not good. I mean, look, how many movies during the holidays how long is that Star Wars movie?
I don't know. I didn't see it. I haven't seen any of the new Star Wars stuff.
Well, look at Benoit just beat the dog shit out of Horace. Now that's how you lay kicks in. That's how you become physical. That's how you impose your will. And that, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Benoit, is how you wrestle bigger than you are. He was 5'9". He was wrestling like he's Andre as far as physicality and intimidation and bringing it to your ass. And I thought it was just great. Benoit and Eddie were our two guys that we really wanted to get in WCW. We talked about that before, or WWE rather. But, some of the writers, some of the others thought, well, they're too short. Here's the thing. You fucking idiot. You just graduated school. You're maybe in your second job. He's too small to do what? How many wrestling matches have you been in? How many fucking fights have you been in? How many athletic endeavors have you been in? What gives you the basis to say he's too short? Did you know how tall Buddy Rogers was? Did you know how tall Jim Londos was? And Strangler Lewis? And Harley Race? And Ray Stevens? Can I go on and on for about a week? Yeah. So you don't know what you're fucking talking about. And that's always been a pet peeve of mine. You can't judge anybody by their size, folks. Judge them by their productivity and their skill set. As Horace tries the Tope El Suicido, thanks to Excalibur. If I'd have been there, I'd have called that sumbitch and I'd have broken a lung. Tope El Suicido. And Horace did it. He's 6'6" or 6'7". And here's the great thing about this. He did a spot to get a hug from the crowd. And then he doesn't follow up with it. And he sure as hell doesn't win with it. So why are you doing high-risk things that never bring you to a victory? It's stupid because you're insecure and you think this is the only way I can, quote-unquote, get over. And then I can continue my goddamn push, Conrad.
Push. I love that you're on fire for the push.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you didn't know?
And his opponent.
Hey everybody, this is Badass Billy Gunn, former WWE superstar. I'm here to give a shout out to Restmore. Because they crossed my mind because I happen to be laying in a bed in Chicago and this bed is awful. But hey, if you want the best sleep of your life, go check out buyrestmore.com for the best sleep. And I mean the best sleep of your life. There's an Amazon link in the description. Now go get some sleep, some good rest, you degenerates.
Order yours today. There's an Amazon link in the description below.
Here you see Goldberg backstage. Yes, Jim, they are about to arrest Goldberg. This is a real thing. They're going to tell him he's under arrest. He's going to protest. And he says it's something like, it's going to take you and all your guns to arrest me. He talks to the main officer who he says he's known for years, refers to him as Jack. And he says, if you arrest me for this, it makes me look guilty. Of course. He says something like, whatever it is, whoever charged me with whatever it is, everybody in this city knows I do nothing but positive things in this community. I do things for cops and kids. Nobody can take me in for anything I didn't do. Whatever it is, I'm innocent. None of you guys can take me down for something I didn't do. I don't like being wrongly accused. I stand for the good in this community. No one else can tell me otherwise. So he's protesting his innocence. Now here's the original creative. Allegedly, they were going to arrest him for raping Miss Elizabeth.
God.
And he decided, I ain't doing that.
No shit. Why? That's just so stupid. It's trying to be so sensational and, oh, did you hear that? Oh, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Billy was right about that. You got to put the veto on that deal. A lot of arrests and arrests. You notice there was a period of time there where it seemed like on either Nitro or Raw, somebody's getting arrested almost every damn week.
Yeah, that's wild.
But he did a good babyface promo. He spoke the truth, and he meant every word he said because he was telling the truth, and he wasn't telling it as a pro wrestling character because he is Goldberg.
Right.
So away they lead him in handcuffs, and the saga continues. And there he is again. You know, we're back from commercial break here, and outside they go into the cold Georgia air. One day after my birthday, January 4th, 1999.
How old are you going to be, tomorrow?
68.
68. What are we going to do for 70? We got to do something fun.
I don't know. This is my first goal is to be alive. Then we'll figure it out. So there goes Goldberg. Nash is pitching a fit because he knows the finish. No, I'm kidding. But Nash looks good. Big impressive bastard. You should have seen him when he was a bouncer at the Gentleman's Club there in Atlanta, and he wore a tuxedo every night. He was a impressive looking dude. Then here comes Hollywood Hogan, brother. Was his beard black or did he have makeup on?
No, I think he, so here you go. There, you see the interview there in the background of Miss Elizabeth. So we're going to find out that it's Elizabeth who filed the report, but we're not going to use the term rape, of course. But no, obviously Hogan was dyeing the mustache blonde, and I've always thought that he was putting like mascara or something like that on his beard to make it dark.
Me too. Me too.
How about the presentation of Perry Saturn here?
Interesting look. Perry's a unique cat, man. Perry was a unique guy. Well, I got along good with Perry Saturn. Some people didn't. He's different. He's unique. But you take him for that. That's his ground. If you're going to interact with a guy like that, you just go to their ground and play on their terms. You communicate with how they can understand you.
Right.
I know every time Perry and I had a conversation that I can recall, one of the most vivid things we talked about was his son Rocky. Perry's got a son named Rocky, and I haven't kept up with him. I don't know the whereabouts or whatever, all that stuff, but he was a good dad, is my point. Even on the road and being Perry, he was a good dad. And here comes the future AEW champion with Ralphus.
What a great presentation this was. You know, we're not too far removed from where he's going to show up in the WWF, just 8 months after this, maybe. But he's doing his peak stuff here. I think, the second half of 1998, maybe even a little before that. But when he turns into this WCW Monday Night Jericho version, it feels like it's Jericho sort of gaining his confidence, coming into his own, being willing to take risks and try stuff. The top knot, the silly Ralphus security with the belly shirt. He's willing to take some risks and show a different side than just the white meat babyface presentation we had seen so far. And that evolution would continue to what we see now with the Inner Circle and AEW.
Yeah. He's not afraid to be bold. He's not afraid to try things. Hey, I got a question for you, Conrad. As we start this match here, Pee Wee Anderson has been refereeing tonight. This is not Pee Wee in the ring right now.
I saw Scott Dickinson, who we refer to on Tony Schiavone's podcast as Sling Blade.
Okay. Don't know why, but it didn't matter. Jericho is such a babyface here. And I was going to tell you a story about that. I can't remember what the hell it was. I'll think about it in a second.
Well, Jericho here is actually playing a heel, but these quote unquote smart fans are with him.
Yeah.
He is definitely out here trying to screw the baby faces and take cheap shots and cheat to win and throw temper tantrums.
Yeah. Watch him use the referee here. And the referee is going to tell the guy, something about using an open hand, which makes the referee look really, really stupid because it's legal. But Jericho he traded in Ralphus for Jake Hager. Nice upgrade.
That's a hell of an upgrade.
Damn right.
I actually tried to find Ralphus for StarCast a few years ago. I thought it would have been tremendous.
No luck, huh?
No luck. Well, I found some numbers. I called some numbers, but nobody ever answered any of the numbers.
That would have been interesting.
I do like the sign in the background that just says very boldly, "I'm not wearing any underwear."
Love it. Jericho has this ability as a heel that few guys have. His stuff is believable. He uses logic. He doesn't make me roll my eyes. He doesn't take too many bumps. But when it's time to feed the comeback, the all-important trait every heel must possess, he can feed the comeback as well as anybody. And and we talked about this before, Conrad, right? Feeding the comeback. It's three or four moves that you as a wrestler take from the avenging opponent, and usually the babyface, obviously. So the babyface makes his comeback, finally gets some comeuppance. So for that to work, the heel, the villain, has got to fly around like he's crazy. And Jericho could do that. Great bumps, just like that belly-to-belly overhead suplex. These guys have a great pace going. They're not getting in a major hurry. They're keeping it where I can process it as a fan, and I can process it as a broadcaster. Sometimes the matches are so fast that you can't process them as a broadcaster. You know that the audience probably isn't processing them either, and that if the talent is to slow down a little bit where you could tell their story. It's not a matter of they're working so fast I can't recognize what they're doing. They're working so fast I can't tell you why they're doing it and what impact or effect it has. That's all about timing. And Jericho's timing is, to this very day, as good as anybody in the business.
This is two great friends as well. When Perry was in a bad way a few years ago, Jericho was there to be one of the first and largest donors to his GoFundMe account. It's good to see that these guys have maintained some sort of friendship over the years as well. Jericho's always been good about that, though.
Yeah, he has. He's a class act, and he's gonna have I can't wait to him and Moxley finally have their big showdown, and that's going to be amazing. Great chemistry between those two cats, and they both live their life as a pro wrestler with something to prove. And when you get really, really talented guys, hey, who do you think somebody else is going to lay out their match? Shit, no, they're going to do it. They're going to live or die by their own creativity and execution. I will buy into that anytime. So Jericho just made his stop. He was selling. He was on the defensive. The transition was a counter into a belly-to-back suplex. One suplex, not 30. One suplex. Saturn sold it, and now Jericho has the advantage, falls up with another suplex, all tying the body parts together, subliminally for some, obvious for others. And so now Jericho's settling it down. This is all about the sell, and this is probably a point in time where they may have too much time. Sometimes Jericho does not slap, and the referee didn't challenge him because he realized perhaps it's legal, you idiot. I got a big officiating today in pro wrestling is the talents and the bookers and those powers that be have just, by and large, over the years have shit on it. I mean, the point to where we couldn't even mention a referee's name on Raw. Why is that? What logical sense does that make? Not a goddamn bit. They do it on the NBA. They do it on the NFL. They do it in MLB. I don't get it. If you want to be a sport, recognize there's a cover.
Wait, hang on. Are you saying that Vince would say, don't acknowledge the referee's name?
Yeah. Yeah. We look back at some of those tapes. We stopped calling referees by name a long time ago. I was big about, the Hebners and Mike Chioda and Timmy White, Jimmy Corderas, all those good referees, man. We had great referees, but they got to that point there to where he got a hard on for somebody. And and all of a sudden, don't mention the referee's name. Okay. By the way, I saw Jack Doan and Chad Patton when we were in Champaign here a while back for AEW. Loved to visit both of them. Good guys.
Tell me why Jack Doan's no longer with the WWE.
Well, Jack made some bad decisions, and I had to fire him.
Oh, okay. Well, there is a real story. It's just like he was such a big part of the company for so long that it just
Jack made some bad decisions, in what he thought was helping the talent. But it was not good. What do you think about the wrestlers wearing a lot of jewelry? You know, we're looking here. This big chain is on Perry Saturn's neck. I think he's got earrings in. Jericho's cutting a good promo while he can get a chance, getting all of while he can on his way out. But I'm not big on the wrestlers wearing necklaces and earrings in combat. I don't know what maybe am I too old school?
No, you're not. I mean, 'cause here's the deal. You know, we're trying to equate it to a quote unquote real fight. Well, they don't wear that in the ring in the UFC for a reason, because that dude would snatch it out, as well he should.
Yeah, or boxing.
Yeah.
You know, and in football, they got the helmet on, so it's not such a big deal. And they got the shoulder pads covering the necklace. As Goldberg is getting arraigned or whatever the hell they do, get signed in there.
He's getting booked into police custody.
Booked, yeah, booked. Booking Dano.
How about he's already adopted the wrestler look, though? He's got Zubaz on. He's got a fanny pack on. I mean, if he had a satin jacket on, or these days, if he had socks and slides, he'd be fully gimmicked out.
Yeah, maybe one of those Ribera jackets.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That complete the outfit.
Did you ever get a Ribera jacket?
No, I never even been there. I've been to Japan a few times. That'd be one of my stops I'd want to make next time. With that'd be kind of I bet a lot of guys will go there. You know, I've seen where Meltzer is going to the Wrestle Kingdom show. Yeah. I read that, and my friend John Pollock up in Toronto's going. And both those guys are really, really good at what they do. But they might, I bet you Meltzer's been there. He's probably got 2 or 3 of those damn jackets. But I can't wear a medium.
They got in big boy sizes.
I'm kidding. I'd be an asshole. Meltzer's got more muscles than I do, by far. But I'd like to go there sometime. That's what we ought to do, Conrad. We ought to have a JR and Conrad show, or Conrad and JR show in Tokyo.
I'm for it. I mean, I don't know if they would understand what the fuck we were saying, but I'm for it.
Half our audience understand what we're saying. They're here in the country, this country. They ain't got a clue.
Roll Tide on that.
They don't see Southernese yet, man. Come on, Daddy.
Southernese. Listen to you.
Goldberg is, this is a scene right out of Dragnet, not the TV series, the comedy movie. Why you put wrestlers in positions like this he's out of his element. Out of his element. You get a lot of shots tonight of these the Nitro girls on the bumpers and things. That was it must be a calendar shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I forgot Shawn Michaels' wife was one of the Nitro girls.
Yeah.
I'll be darned. She's a nice lady. I went hog hunting with Shawn one time down on his ranch in Texas, and she was a great host. Cooked a mean breakfast. I think that Tampa box there is Jimmy Hart's mailbox. I'm not sure. I'm kidding. I said he was ubiquitous. He's everywhere.
What do you think of the Nitro look here around the ring skirt? So the actual ring skirts had a piece of business where it was blacked out, but then right in the middle is the Nitro logo, rectangular shaped, and they had a light under the ring, so it would sort of shine through. Another little innovation from the set presentation and set design from the Turner folks here.
Yeah, did a good job. Hey, the show looks good. Production-wise, looks very good, and it's very expensive. Our buddy Keith Mitchell, who does the same job in AEW that he did all those years in WCW, he was the only guy to have his job in WCW since the starting of the company. One of Fritz Von Erich trained guys from Channel 39 back in the day in Dallas. But there's a good look for them. Who's this yahoo holding the mic?
You know, I don't remember that guy's name. I'll think of it in a minute, but the concept is they're trying to get over these Nitro parties, and Bischoff has recently admitted on 83 Weeks that they staged these first several. Obviously, these guys are all playing along here, but they staged some Nitro parties to give the look and feel that it was similar to a Super Bowl party, you know, that this was a show worthy enough to have everybody get together, and they sort of tongue in cheek said, "Hey, send us your videotapes of your Nitro parties." And to his surprise, people actually did it. They started getting, having big get-togethers and throwing big parties and filming it and sending it in for an opportunity to win a chance at, being on TV, or perhaps Mean Gene bringing the Nitro girls out, whatever the different contests were that they did. And this one they're staging inside the actual arena. This is the suite inside the Georgia Dome, but an interesting concept. And it feels like a very Vince McMahon-esque type of feel, that you would have, had a contest that involved the consumer having a party just to sort of give some social proof that this is a big time show.
Yeah. It's fun to be a part of, fun to be around. And I think that's what we're saying here. Now we go from that to, Miss Elizabeth being questioned by what I'm assuming is a police officer, because she's standing, two other uniformed officers are standing in the same room as well. She was such a nice lady. And, so it's sad her life ended the way it did, and so early. I guess some of the cops just joined the fray,
So she's saying, "I filled 3 reports already. I don't know why I have to do this. And have you read those reports?" And he says, "Yes." But they're talking about this person as a perpetrator, and they're saying, she's saying that he is effectively stalking her. He's everywhere she goes. He was here at the water cooler tonight. He was at the arena in Baltimore. He was at the airport. And of course, in reality, she's trying to position this as he's following me everywhere, and I just can't take it anymore. He goes to the gym. He's at the gym every time I go there. He's at the airport. He's at the arena. The concept,
hair salon.
Well, the concept is he's everywhere a WCW wrestler would be. So she's trying to get Goldberg arrested for stalking her by, working out in the towns they go to and showing up to work where she works.
This is quite a departure for Elizabeth, because she had never been known to be a promo person.
That's right. And here we see the LWO, an interesting little vignette here for the Latino World Order. I mean, by this point, it feels like the NWO concept has jumped the shark, but yeah. Bischoff would say no. He would defend this and thought it gave Eddie Guerrero a chance to shine, which I guess it did.
It did a little bit. Yeah. Well, he's the centerpiece of this vignette.
Sure.
He's got more middle of camera time than anybody there. And they did the car thing and the whole 9 yards. I didn't have a problem with this. If it did one thing, and that one thing would be to elevate Eddie, then it's a good thing. Creative worked. Hello. I ever tell you I like Latino women?
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's good. It's like, Joey, do you like gladiator movies? Peter Gray's Airplane. Sitting next to Lou Alcindor, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Joey, do you like gladiator? Now, here's a good one. When they're wearing black hats, though, it just kind of gets on my nerves. Look at Eddie. He's got a double armful of lovely ladies.
It's got an armful of Roll Tide.
Yeah, Roll Tide, baby. This is just what a collection of goddamn talent. There's a dance going on. Is that Silver King? The hat on?
Yeah.
I think it is. And Eddie's got the hat on now. He looks better than the hat than I do. But they got the band there and all good stuff, man. I like it. I like the vignette. I like what they're doing, and it gave guys an opportunity to be on television in some way other than going to the ring and losing.
Right.
So it's a hit in that regard. It might be a little long because it's still on, folks.
We just saw El Dandy. Did you think El Dandy had what it took to be world champion?
Well, he wasn't in Eddie or Ray's league.
Who are you to doubt El Dandy, JR?
I'm just a fat son of a bitch from Oklahoma that don't know what he's talking about. He was good, but no, get out of here, Conrad.
I just wanted to
Dandy. Jesus.
What do you think?
Eddie's. Go ahead.
What do you think Vicky thought of these vignettes? I bet she was not a fan of these in particular.
I don't know. She's a pretty good sport. She might have just laughed at them for what they were intended to do, just entertain you. But this son of a bitch here's a goddamn mini movie.
It is.
This is to keep here we're going to do all these unhappy Hispanic talents. We're going to put them all in one vignette, and we're going to tell them, and we're going to give you more time than we'll give anybody else. So maybe they'll shut up about getting their push.
What's interesting about this is I think this is one of the pitfalls of doing a 3-hour show. You've just got to find something to fill time. And before you know it, you wind up saying, instead of, hey, how quick can we get this done? It's how long can we give them? So these segments that maybe could have been, to your point, this could have been 90 seconds and been effective. It's
absolutely
much longer than that.
Yeah. And the other thing about the time, great producers don't fill time. They produce content. And I just don't believe that. I believe there's a way around that scenario. As far as we got a long show, we got a lot of time to fill. Let's do some vignettes. Let's do some things out of the arena. Now, all the time this is going on, Conrad, the people in the Georgia Dome are sitting there with their digit up their ass.
Yeah.
And they're being deflated. They're coming down. They're losing their buzz, bro. Stay in your lane, bro. And they're losing their buzz. So it's just too long, and you kind of know it's a political thing, partly political. But the concept of doing it is a good idea.
Right.
And now they're finally out of it, folks. Gone with the Wind is over. And the vignette will maybe I wonder if they have many more of those. I think they did.
It's a hell of a shot. This huge capacity crowd here, and time for another match. Here we go. This is going to be a barn burner. I think you'll be into this one. We've got
the greatest overachiever in the history of wrestling, Billy Kidman, because he married Tori Wilson. For the love of God, man.
And look who he's with. Rey Mysterio in a robe and a knee brace. They're going to take on, and I know you'll be into this, Juventud Guerrera and Psychosis. These are 4 of the best in the biz here.
Yeah, they are. And here's the sad part about it. Mechanically, you're 100% right. Unfortunately, they were given such little respect, and in my view now, this is my view, they were looked at as somewhat of an afterthought there. And Eric probably would just totally disagree with this, and he certainly got a right to, because he was there running it. I just thought that there was more juice on the vine with these cats than they were given the opportunity to do. They never got involved in a real personal issue that was ongoing, that had episodic nature to it and qualities. It just seemed like it was a one-off here and a one-off there, and got this and got that. But yeah, these 4 guys right here can get it going. You can only imagine how great it will be if there was a story behind it that was significant and had been built over several weeks to build up the anticipation. But it wasn't. This is a great match to expose to this audience on this massive night in Atlanta, because it will provide you some great high spots.
We should mention here that this match is going to go 7 minutes and 27 seconds. And of course, in this era, he doesn't do it now either. Meltzer wasn't rating TV matches with star ratings. You and I haven't ever spent much time talking about that, though. Since we've got a little bit of time, as we're going to see some really, really talented performers do their thing. Our referee is Charles Robinson, who, believe it or not, is still working.
Same haircut.
Looks the same. He's the Benjamin Button of wrestling. Talk to me a little bit about star ratings and what old school Jim Ross thinks of that.
Well, I think that some people make more to them than there is there. Look, Dave Meltzer is an expert in pro wrestling. There's nobody in the wrestling journalism side that has done it longer or better than Dave. Dave has counseled some of the most powerful people in pro wrestling for many, many years, and including my mentor, Bill Watts, and Paul Bosch. They would freely in their room, and some would come, not in the locker room, but in their office, would talk to Meltzer. He was so big then he didn't have a first name. So it's Meltzer. Okay. Everybody knows who you're talking about. Now it's even more prominent because, well, I talked to Dave. There's only one Dave.
Right.
So he must be quote unquote over. But what you have, folks, is a very educated opinion, keyword opinion, on one person's taste and take on a wrestling match. And that's what the star ratings are all about. I like Dave's star ratings more before he went to the 6 stars or 7 stars or, the Omega Okada rating. I thought, I don't know. I was thinking that maybe just a good 5-star was the best you could get, but it's his rating and it's his opinion. So that's where we are. It's an educated guy's opinion on what his thoughts were on a match based on movie ratings that that we all look. When I read a movie rating, I'd like to know how many stars it got.
Sure.
It's just part of it. And I know it's that person's opinion. It's not etched in stone, but I think that's kind of where we are. I think sometimes people put too much in it, but Meltzer's normally very, very close to what I believe. We have a lot of the same philosophies, and so. But I think he's normally pretty damn close on his ratings. Except I thought going to the 6 to 7 stars might be a little bit overkill. Just me.
Let's talk about Juventud Guerrera. Eric Bischoff and I agree that he's one of the more underrated performers in the history of business. God damn, I can't believe he did a leg drop over the top rope down to the floor. Psychosis is a crazy man.
Yeah, fearless. These guys are fearless, and I can, you can only imagine, man, coming from Mexico and being in Atlanta and this crowd, national television, hugely hyped main event. These guys are essentially lost leader items on this card. You're getting 7 minutes of the great stuff. And look at another Psychosis. Well, nothing crazy about that sledge and the tag made. An illegal tag, by the way, because Hoovy didn't have a hold the tag rope. He had one foot in the ring already. So just saying, laziness. Referee should not allow the tag. You do that a few times, the guys pull their head out of their ass and get it figured out. Juventud's biggest enemies are Juventud.
Right.
And that's sad. I mean, he'd get messed up and think he's Andre. So, he got bigger in life on his high, I guess, or drinking. That's what killed him in the business, because he could do everything. He could do everything. And now with the size legislation being eased in pro wrestling, you can only imagine if he was walking a straight and narrow, that how big he would be in today's marketplace. He had great look, good looking kid. The women loved him. And there's another tag. Hoovy's leaving, and Psychosis is going to come in here in a minute, and they ain't going to come in traditionally. They don't do anything traditionally. Everything's looking for a sensational move. And of course, Rey Mysterio I have a lot of respect for Conan, and Conan tells me that, as far as he's concerned, Rey Mysterio's as good as there ever was from Mexico. I think I agree with that. And I'm not a Mexican wrestler, a Latino lucha libre expert by any stretch. I know the high spots of it, but I think Rey, as far as North America or the world is concerned, is one of the best ever. So then Billy Kidman comes in. I never thought Billy Kidman did himself any favor wearing that wife beater T-shirt.
Why is that? You think it makes him? Why is that?
I guess he was the only one doing it, and I guess it just fit his look or his New Jersey or his upbringing or something, stereotypical stuff.
Well, but why didn't you like it? That's what I mean.
I just don't think it looks good. It looks like cheap.
Okay.
Just looked like, he could have borrowed that from anybody on the crew, for his ring attire. Just thought it was, look at Ray's got a matching mask and knee pads and his tights and all that. Psychosis, and Hoovy's and Billy's wearing jorts and a wife beater tee. I don't get it. So it has to be all about his persona.
I see.
I guess, but it looked discount. He didn't look like a main event guy wearing that attire, in my opinion. That's all.
No, I appreciate the explanation. I mean, that makes total sense. I mean, he's certainly not investing a lot in his wardrobe, and Jimmy Hart told Eric Bischoff once, and we talked about this in 83 Weeks, that if you that he heard from Dick Clark the concept, and I'm going to butcher the line, if you dress like someone in the crowd, eventually you'll be one.
Yeah.
The idea that you've got to have a big presentation to make yourself stand out and look like you're somebody, so to speak.
I agree. 100%. 100% agree. So, and Billy did not look successful. Billy did not dress like a winner. And he would stand out in a negative way of these four guys, all extremely, extremely talented. It's great seeing these spots. These guys are just like, they're just smooth as silk and almost sometimes too smooth. But boy, you can never discount the athleticism and these guys are willing to take chances because they're taking a hell of a bunch of them, boy. There's another leg drop off the top by Psychosis. Can you imagine what his hips are going to look like when he's, poor bastards. What they do to try to get over. You got to attaboy them for that.
Oh, absolutely.
It's over. So Hoovy and Psychosis win the match. They got a lot of charisma. Hey, it's hard to have charisma with a mask on.
Yeah, you can't show, the emotion with your facial expressions nearly as much.
And now we're back for Sergeant Friday. And Goldberg is still handcuffed. His head down. He's downtrodden.
And the cop is saying, you follow her to the gym, you follow her to the airport, you follow her to the buildings. And Goldberg says, the office puts us up in all the hotels and all the arenas, and the gym I have to work out is the gym. I run into everyone in gyms across this country. And then he says, well, she says she sees you at the Obake gym and you're always there when she's there. And he says, well, she's a member there. And the reason I'm always there is because I own it. That's how ridiculous all of this is. I want to leave now. And they're keeping him. So in case you're wondering, why are we showing this? He's supposed to be getting his rematch after he lost the streak to Kevin Nash tonight in our main event, but he can't very well do that if he's in jail.
Yeah, it's perplexing to say the least. There's Gene trying to explain things. God bless Gene. I thought of Gene so much during the holidays. I really did. Last time I saw Gene was a year ago at WrestleCade during Thanksgiving weekend.
He was not in good shape there.
He was not. But we were drinking buddies. We drank and we laughed and told stories. That when you get JR and Louise together, that we are going to talk about Heenan. And we did. And we cried. We laughed. Kevin's got a great look. And, Kevin was a big get for those guys. He had a long run as a WWE champion, WWS champion. I saw where Kevin's got another role in a big film coming up. Heck of a cast.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin, I think, is even in that movie. So it'll be a big deal for him.
Yeah, it's got a good cast, all-star cast in that regard. So good for him. I know he was remiss about missing the Jericho cruise. I'm going to join the cruise, Conrad. I'm not going to be on the cruise. I'm going to meet the cruise in the Bahamas. Tough detail, huh?
Well, that'd be fun. Yeah,
TK. So when you get real close to owner, Tony Khan, you can call him TK. So TK got a hold of me the other day and wanted to know if I'd meet him there in the Bahamas. I said, oh, okay, if I got to. And so I'm going to do commentary on the ship for the day that they're docked there in Nassau.
Should mention here that Kevin Nash is saying that as far as he's concerned, Starrcade was a screw job for Goldberg. And he says that Liz's charges are trumped up and he knows that Hulk Hogan is behind it. So he asked Flair to get Hogan in the ring. He said he knows that Hogan, despite his quote unquote retirement in November, is still under contract and he could make it happen. So that's going to bring out the Nature Boy himself, who's been called out to make a match here. So as a reminder, Hulk Hogan went on the Tonight Show in November and announced that he was retiring and he planned to run for president of the United States. He's going to retire from wrestling. Now fast forward, 6 or 8 weeks, whatever. And the guy who beat Goldberg, or her Goldberg beat for the world title, Hulk Hogan, is retired. And Nash is theorizing that is who is behind the Goldberg arrest. He wants the title shot, and I would be glad to squash him. We've just got to have the newfound commissioner of WCW, the president of WCW, Ric Flair, make the match. And as a reminder, they've been teasing this Hogan, or this Kevin Nash Goldberg match rather, the entire night and for the weeks leading up to it since Starrcade. And we're supposed to get our payoff, but we can't if Goldberg is in jail. So Flair makes the match, and now it's apparent that Hulk Hogan is going to get his title shot here against Kevin Nash. So these 40,000 fans who came here to see Goldberg Nash 2, now it's made apparent that's not what they're getting. They're getting Hogan Nash.
Yeah, it's all about the payoff, how you end up the night. We know how that went. But the Goldberg and Kevin's match that's a big money deal, man. And so I understand the booking leading into it, but you don't want to create a negative environment for too long. That's a key thing. Disappointment's okay for a fan to have on an ongoing TV show, as long as at the end of the night, you make things whole to some way. No matter the finish of the match, this one there was a matter because it wasn't really well thought out, in my view. But bottom line is that you got to deliver Goldberg and Nash in some form.
And we see the recap here again. We saw it at the top of the show. There's the power bomb. That's what ended Goldberg's streak. Look at the crowd in the background now. They're going bananas for Kevin Nash, who was definitely one of the more over baby faces at the time. It's always been fascinating to me that, Kevin Nash is a guy who gets a lot of credit for what he did here in WCW with turning WCW around and the success of the NWO. And then you go back though, just a few years to his run as champion with you guys at the WWF. And people would say, oh, but he was the lowest drawing champion or the worst drawing champion ever.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that assessment when people are just quick to say, oh, he was the worst champion ever?
Well, it's just what wrestling fans love to do. Here's the thing about it. And I want to temper this remark by saying, wrestling fans are, in my opinion, the most passionate and enthusiastic fan base of any entity in the world. I think one of the reasons for that is that because many of these fans when they were watching wrestling as a kid, they were ridiculed by a sibling, a parent, a friend, whatever it may be, that by saying something along the lines of, you mean you watch that shit?
Right.
You know it's fake, right? So, and so we've faced that all our life. I certainly did. My dad was not a fan because he thought it was too eye-rolling. He told me one time, said, you let me stand on the second rope and hit somebody 10 times square in the face, son. They will not be standing. They would be bloody. My hand would be bloody. My hand would be, I may break my hand. Their face will be mangled. 10 clear shots from the mount position in the corner where the fans count along. He said, it's bullshit. And I just thought the wrestlers had real tough skin. This invisible layer of protection. So I didn't want to hear it because I love the product that much. But I had respect for my father not to argue with him about something that he felt so strongly about at that point in time in my life. So man, I'm telling you, it was tough. It was tough to live in that kind of environment. So they're just so excited about, everything that goes on, and they love the anticipation. So now we got another interview with Elizabeth. This thing is dragging out like a son of a bitch. And now Gene is back in the ring looking good. And Gene always had a good tan. He always paid attention to details. Looked good, tan. Oh, his suit fit good. He didn't have a roll-up collar like a lot of guys do when they don't get a suit tailored. Looked good, man. I love Gene. Boy. He was a real good ally for me when him and Monsoon, and isn't it funny? Oakland, Monsoon, and Heenan, who all three in some shape, form, or fashion, maybe professionally, airtime-wise, the most to lose with me coming around, were the nicest to me when I went to WWF in '93. And there's Hogan, the consummate performer, making an entrance. Now see how he pays attention to his attire, what he looks like. His suit fits great. His looks good. He's got the black the head do-rag on. The beard, he's got a beard like Bluto. He looks like the Popeye villain, that black beard and peroxided mustache and so forth.
Has there ever been a guy who, I mean, what he did in the 80s was unbelievable with the red and yellow. And then when he becomes a bad guy, he sort of jump starts wrestling again by joining the NWO. I think he's on a short list of guys who were, you know, just as big as a heel as they were babyface. It does feel like for most folks, you know, it was one or the other, but Hogan did both very, very well.
Yeah. He's a great performer. See, here's what you get when you're, again, Terry Bollea grew up a wrestling fan. He had great respect for it. He grew up literally in a community that housed probably the most wrestling-centric promotion, fundamentally soundness in the country, in Eddie Graham's Florida Championship Wrestling. That's what Hogan grew up on. That's what he saw on a regular basis before the proliferation of cable, where you see everything and digital and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, he got the great background, wonderful tutelage. You know, I'm not saying I love Hiro Matsuda, but Matsuda intensely broke Hogan's ankle to see if he's going to come back or just to get rid of him. And then if he did come back at that size, well, maybe he's got something. And he came back. So I got a lot of respect for Hogan. You know, he's a worker, and he's smart. He's a survivor, man. And he's a very rich survivor now. After losing fortunes to divorce and other things, and then coming back and getting whole again, you know, good for him.
We should mention that Okerlund introduced Hollywood Hogan here as the most popular wrestler of all time. Schiavone said something like the fans haven't been able to forgive him for his recent past. And then he asked Hogan where his political aspirations lie. And Hogan says it's obvious the world still revolves around him. He said he promised on the Tonight Show that he'd say goodbye to his fans who've stuck by him through thick and thin. And he also said he was planning to announce that, you know, he had a vice presidential running mate. And then he called Goldberg a sexual deviant and said his actions make him sick to his stomach. He calls out Nash and says Nash has been huffing and puffing and he owes his fans one last retirement match. He said after he beats Nash and retires with the WCW world title, you can just call me Hollywood the big bad wolf.
Made me think of a story, the root side of this thing. Great company, folks, by the way. Check this thing out. I'm a junior in high school. After football practice, I'm lockering next to a senior lineman, and our football coach walks in, and of course we're all in various forms of undress, getting ready to shower after a hard practice there in the hot Oklahoma 2 days in August. And he walks in the locker room and says, "God damn, look at the root on that son of a bitch." So he's looking in my direction. So I know he ain't talking about me. I turn my head and there's my locker mate, in all his glory, extremely, endowed. And he makes all the guys come. This is such an HR issue. He makes the football players. He said, "Boys, take a look at this," and everybody's laughing. He said, "That, folks, is what is known as a swamp root." So if anybody ever asks if you got a swamp root, you know what they're talking about. Swamp root. And so I got a friend of mine now that's that way. I tease him about. I've never seen him, but he's very proud of his endowment. So I nicknamed him Swamp Root. So now the son of a bitch has got T-shirts made called Swampy shirts and Swampy coffee cups, just for friends, not for retail. So swamp. Remember root, folks. Remember root. Remember the root connotations here. But the greatest root connotation is how they can save you money, protect you, and what's yours on an affordable basis for your car insurance. And it's just too smart not to do.
How about
Swamp Root Thompson? Okay.
How about the big booty daddy here and Buff Bagwell?
They're a good looking team. All muscled up and enhanced. And, you know, they do look good though, right? I mean, don't they look like see how they're dressed? They got a tire. Their tire looks good. And this is a great example. They look good. They look like they're successful. Look like they're winners. But I can tell you that They look successful, as I said. I think that's a good thing. I'm just trying to see here, Scotty. Scotty had such a great look. Boy, he was. I don't know why he. Well, I do know why. I think I know why he was not ever the guy. You know, he's just hard to manage for some people. It's all a matter of communicating. But some people could communicate with Scotty and Rick, and some people couldn't.
And here comes Conan, cooling the other side of the pillow.
Yep. Very underrated talent in the ring. Extremely bright, great mind now in wrestling. Great pro wrestling mind. And his dad's an attorney. Grew up in Miami.
It's pretty remarkable that he's involved in as many companies as he is. I mean, I feel like he, behind the scenes, works with everybody.
Well, he's good. I mean, he's just one of those guys that always contributes wherever he goes. And he has an amazing way to, he communicates well with his Hispanic brethren when they may have issues with, with language barriers and things like that. But he's got a lot of fire. You're seeing here with Scotty. And Scotty didn't sell for a lot of guys. So you know that Scotty had respect for Conan, as he should. But there's going to be a lot of posing and double biceps and things like that. This match could be very easily bowling shoe ugly because both guys want to get over. Both guys, probably felt like they need to get over, and they got to look good. So what you got to do there, folks, real simple. You got to maximize your minutes. And Conan peppers Scotty with this amazing shots in the corner, then a hard clothesline. So Scotty is selling for Conan, which tells me two things. As I mentioned earlier, there's respect from Steiner to Conan. There's Bagwell becoming a pain in the ass on the outside, behind the referee's back, doing his thing. Conan's head first to the turnbuckle or to the ring post. But I like Conan. I like Scotty. Now they're double teaming here and on the outside. So what it tells me, as I said earlier, it makes you say that, well, Conan is respected and the Steiner's going over. It's hard to beat a guy like Scott Steiner when he's got a second at the ring and Bagwell. How do you beat him and not make you look like an idiot? I don't know the finish this match. Again, I haven't watched or previewed nothing. But I would put Scotty over simply because of the fact that Conan's a man down in this one-on-one match. See more necklaces and earrings and all this stuff. I don't understand that. I don't know what do you think it is that compels talent to want to wear that material?
I don't know.
I don't get it. I mean, I try to figure this out. So I keep saying, well, maybe you're missing something, JR. Maybe you're not as smart as you think you are. You're damn sure getting older. You know, we get reminded of that all the time.
Well, I mean, it is a little bit of bravado and quote unquote swag. I mean, this past NFL season, we saw Odell Beckham wear a $250,000 watch that was coordinated to his uniform while he played a Richard Mille. I mean, it's a fucking house on his wrist, value wise, and he's running routes and catching balls with it. So there is a part of, I can even do this wearing that type of thing. But in a traditional, I mean, if this was a real bar fight, the first thing Scotty's doing is yanking those ears out of him.
Yeah, really. Absolutely is. So yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to realize why you might do that, but it doesn't make any sense. I can't figure out any logic behind it. You can very easily wear it if you think it's a great, a decorative thing, fits your attire, your character, your persona. Then so you wear it on the entrance, and then you take the necklace off or whatever. But like you said, Conrad, it's just it's illogical. And it doesn't. If you're going to play fight, you got to play fight as realistically as you can. Not a bad match they're having here, Conan and Scott Steiner.
Not frankly. The best tornado DDT, but the fans are into it. I mean, when they first got going, everybody was on their feet. They're ready for this.
They had a hot start because they had to follow the big announcement. They had to follow the appearance of Hogan. And then right before that, Nash and Flair. A lot of star power preceded these two guys. So for them to have a match that they want to have, you got to start out quickly. You got to get the crowd invested early. And that's what they're trying to do here. So a little stutter step here and there, nothing horrible, but nonetheless, the match probably achieved better than a lot of people thought it might. So Conan I don't know what he's trying to do here, but here comes Bagwell. That should be a disqualification when you think. Yeah. Little Nate is calling for the bell. So we have a DQ, not Dairy Queen, but a disqualification. And, Charles is thrown over the top and hits his back on the edge of the ring, which is
not good.
Here comes another referee. And now I don't know what the hell who the hell is this?
That's Slick Johnson. He's the evil heel referee, as you can see.
Oh yeah.
But you get the double entendre there. Slick Johnson. It's like we're running a Manscaped ad right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's be careful. You don't want your balls to look like Davy Crockett's hat, folks. Remember that. It's not flattering. So now they're just beating the dog shit out of O'Conan with a chair, double teaming him. So, it's going a little too long. And here's the deal: a lot of those signs out there you see is about Big Papa Pump. He's a baby face to the crowd, but he's wrestling like a heel with an unfair advantage with a guy in the ring with him and buff. That casting or i.e. booking doesn't work for me, quite frankly. So anyway, Scott Steiner gets a nice win, he looked like he got a win. Why didn't he get the win? That's another question. Why did he just beat Conan in a tight one, and then keep the program alive a little bit more realistically, as opposed to having the big cluster after the disqualification, which was unprovoked. There was no reason for the disqualification other than it just happened. It just did not fit. There was no good transitions there in that match. But they did have a pretty nice match. I enjoyed it overall, other than the very end.
As a reminder, that's our second DQ. Chris Jericho and Saturn was a DQ, and as was Conan and Scott Steiner. Next up, we're going to have Bam Bam Bigelow taking on Rath. And here he comes right now, the former Adam Bomb. This guy feels like Vince McMahon's dream prototype for a wrestler. Why wasn't Adam Bomb more of a hit with WWF?
I again think it might. I don't know if it was just the creative. He has an amazing look, smart guy, as I recall. He just didn't. He didn't connect with the audience. I don't know if they didn't know what to make of him. What was Adam Bomb? How can I relate as a fan to Adam Bomb? Well, you probably answered all those questions yourself. Nothing. Good looking guy, but give me a better backstory, give me better creative. And now, for God's sakes, he's going to cut a promo. Good. Hey, the kid's had a great look. He really did. But I don't know if he knew what he was, if he was fish or fowl. I don't know how much help he was given in that regard, but he needed some guidance on his, on creative and his presentation. Unfortunately, he's one of those guys that had the $1 million look. It just didn't make it. But David Pinzer's back there. He did.
David Pinzer, friend of the show. If you live in South Florida and you're looking to, buy a house or sell your house, he's your Huckleberry.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good for him.
He's with Exit Realty down there in the Tampa area. Just look him up. Dave Pinzer.
Pinzer. Pinzer was his name.
So he's doing a little call out here saying if there's anybody in the back who's got the guts to come on down and step up to the plate, make your way. And one guy's going to answer it. And, that's quite the performer. It's Bam Bam Bigelow. Another guy who, had some interesting runs with the WWF, but it doesn't seem like they were ever really sustainable. And they're pushing this as a big moment here on Nitro, because you've got two giants, and Bigelow, obviously fresh off of a heck of a run in ECW. And he's made his mark in WCW as well, especially in that hardcore division. I think he popped up maybe 2 months prior to this on Nitro. And he's going to have a good little run here. Why didn't Bigelow get another look in the WWF? I know it wasn't the best existence for him from a click perspective, but by this point, some of that's not the same.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, Scott had his good days and bad days. Amazing athlete, my God. I only used to wonder how good a nose tackle he would be in the NFL with his quickness and great feet and his size. It's pretty amazing. Great amateur wrestler in high school there in Jersey. But he's just, there was just something about him, and maybe it was him, that caused this issue that I think from McMahon probably was a little bit challenged to believe in him. But then, he had that great performance with Lawrence Taylor. I used to watch him work out every night there at the warehouse there on 120 Hamilton in Stanford, getting ready for WrestleMania up in Hartford. I think it was WrestleMania 10 or 11, one or two. Anyway, I don't know. I like Scott. Was a cool, neat guy, big, powerful, good, took good bumps. But I didn't know if he was fish or foul. Why do I need to like Bam Bam Bigelow, or why do I need to dislike Bam Bam Bigelow? Is he a protagonist or is he an antagonist? I don't know. Those questions were clearly defined. And you can't just always say, well, let's just let the fans decide. Bullshit. That's what you say as a booker or creative person when you don't have a better idea.
Right.
Let's just let the fans decide. So I don't know, Conrad. It's one of the great mysteries. There's a lot of concepts. Will be a lot of feedback if people answer this question on Twitter at Hey it's Conrad, or at my Twitter at JRSBBQ on Twitter. I don't have a great answer. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, folks, if you got one, because I don't know the answer to that deal. You'd think he had everything: big, athletic, tough looking, tattooed head, just to look like a rugged son of a bitch. And he was.
Right.
But, the things that he couldn't defeat all his opponents, so those opponents are demons. And he didn't do himself any favors with Scotty. And see, this match has gone to the outside. It's just disjointed. There's not even a good feel for this match.
No, it's the show has definitely lost some momentum here. And we should mention, at this point, everyone's already changed the channel. On the heels of that Hulk Hogan interview is that very iconic moment where Tony Schiavone would say, fans, as Hollywood Hogan walks away and you look at this 40,000 plus on hand, if you're even thinking about changing the channel to our competition, fans, do not, because we understand that Mick Foley, who wrestled here one time as Cactus Jack, is going to win their world title. Ha! That's going to put some butts in the seats. And allegedly, that was on direct order from Eric Bischoff. Eric, I believe, sent, and I may be screwing the name up, but I think he says that it was Annette Yoder that he sent down. And it may have been someone else, but he sent someone down and said, hey, Eric wants you to really shit on Cactus winning the world title. And he says, he apparently muted and said, are you sure? And she said, yes. And he confirmed one more time. And then that's what he went with. So it wasn't word for word exactly what, it wasn't a script that Tony Schiavone was reading, but it was made apparent that there was a conscious effort that we're going to sort of get back to the roots of Nitro, because that is definitely something Eric was doing when he was doing commentary back in 95. He's going to give away the results of a taped Raw, and that's what's happening here. But this works against him. And as soon as Tony finished the sentence, 600,000 viewers changed the channel and never saw this match. So they went from Monday Nitro and, hey, we're going to get to see the rematch of Kevin Nash, Bill Goldberg. And now there's this interesting Hulk Hogan wrinkle. Nope. We know there's a title switch on the other channel and we love Mankind. We're switching to Raw.
Yeah. The stars align perfectly. I just don't believe in, I've had plenty of opportunities and probably got close to the edge a time or two on my commentary on AEW on Wednesday nights on TNT. Sure I have, but I'm not going any closer to the edge than I've already been. And that I'm talking about knocking WWE or anybody else. I'm not going to do it. And if I got word in my head set to knock WWE or anybody else on our air, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I'm not doing it. I think it's a negative. it feeds into that damn, the mindset of what we're dealing with here with all this negativity. And I ain't going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. It's not good for our business. And our business is that important to me. I'm not going to do that. So, and I've done some of it, and I'm not happy about it. As these guys brawl, they can't get a finish out of this match. There's another political one that was done. Well, we got too much to go over. Just throw it out.
Yeah. Another no contest, just under 4 minutes. We're not done though. Before we get to our main event, we've got Diamond Dallas Page and Bryan Adams. So, we had Brian Clark. Now we got Bryan Adams. And this Bryan Adams will be seconded by Vincent. But first, yet another Liz vignette. This is not good TV here, Jim. And a lot of people have looked back and said this was sort of the nail in the coffin of the Monday Night War. Now, the ratings would go back and forth a little bit further into 1999, but many folks say this is a critical, pivotal moment in WCW history, whether it's the nail in the coffin that, hey, the WWF has won and WCW Monday Nitro is now in the rearview mirror, or at worst, this is the beginning of the end.
I can see that argument being made, and I can't disagree with it. Again, I didn't follow Nitro that much. What I would do is when we got back to our hotels, when we were staying in the Raw City and not traveling out that night, which was back in the days of, I think, trying to think when the airplane came along, but there were some Mondays where we would remain in the Monday Night City. And when we would do that and then go back to our hotel when our show was over, if they had TNT on, which most did, I would watch the replay of Nitro, which came on, I think, at midnight, something like that, late. So I would end up, that would be my whole day of wrestling, where it would wear your ass out. And Nitro would be my babysitter late at night, and I'd go to sleep with the TV on. But I did try to watch parts of it just to get a feel for it. But, it wasn't so, I just didn't watch the show that much. I was wrestled out, man. I was wrestled out, and I just didn't feel like it was that important to, because you're going to read about it anyway. The Observer, the Torch, whatever. So, anyhow. Liz was trying to talk her way out of this thing now, isn't she?
Yeah, she's trying to backpedal, and they're like, no, you need to stay. And she's like, you know what? I may have been mistaken. As a matter of fact, it wasn't Bill. A lot of these guys, they just look alike to me. And there's so many bald-headed wrestlers running around. I just feel terrible. I just feel awful. I could cost Goldberg his world title shot, and I just want to apologize.
I just want to go to Costco, goddammit. Because Costco will give me my push.
I love that you're on the push move. Hey, let's talk about Tony Schiavone for a minute here, because Mick has said that when he heard what Tony said, it upset him to the point that he even called Tony and left him a voicemail. And eventually when he got him and they got to talk, Tony sort of faded the heat to Eric Bischoff and said, buddy, I was just doing what I was told to do. And after the Conan Scott Steiner match, he would go back to the well again. He would reiterate, hey, by the way, Mick Foley is going to win the world title on the other show on a pre-tape show. And he's sort of acting a little disgusted that someone like Foley would be considered world champion. So, I mean, they went to this, multiple times here. You think Tony felt any remorse at the time, or is this, on some level, he's right. Bischoff told him to do it. He's his boss. You got to do it. But I know that Tony can really take things to heart.
Yeah. He's a sensitive guy. I love Tony Schiavone, and we made it clear here. I went to Tony Khan and said, man, we need Tony Schiavone on our team because of the multitude of things he can do. And he's a classy guy, class human being. Even though he's got those 5 Halton Moon kids, that's irrelevant. I'm kidding. That's what Jim Cornette said one time in a promo. Almost did a spit take. But yeah, I think Tony has some remorse about that simply because it hurt Mick's feelings. And Mick's the kind of guy that, he's very beloved. Mick Foley may be what some cynics call a hug chaser. I know Bubba W calls Dave LaGreca hug chaser on Busted Open Radio. There's shot of Jerry Glanville in the crowd. Got his sunglasses on like he's fucking Elvis, you little bastard. Jerry.
Hey, partner. Hey, Jerry Glanville.
I hosted Jerry Glanville's show a couple of times on the radio.
Tell everybody, some of our non-football fan listeners, who Jerry Glanville was.
He was head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. The Dome had just opened, folks, in '92. And I was on that team, that broadcast team with Bill Rosinski, my great friend. One of the best play-by-play guys in all the sports, and still is. And Jeff Van Note, number 57. They retired his number today, meaning Atlanta, when he retired as playing center for all those years for the Falcons. So we had a real fun team, travel with the team. But Glanville was a character. He had a belt buckle that he wore, all his black attire, like he was a cowboy. He fashioned himself as a half-assed cowboy, NASCAR driver, all this adventuresome stuff, but he forgot to learn how to coach offense. And so we sucked at offense. But I don't know what he was good at, quite frankly. Entertaining soundbite. But he was a coach of the Falcons. I was doing one of our shows in Knoxville 2 or 3 years ago. I didn't realize he lived in Knoxville because I was doing a radio interview and he called in. But he had this great big belt buckle that would rival the size of the big Flair belt. It was hideous. It looked like he'd lost a bet, but it was just a big ass belt buckle he wore in his regular street clothes. So he looked like he was the champ. And then I told him one time, I said, "Man, what a manager you would make." So I tell him that on one game. About 2 games later, he comes back. He's sitting in first class on the team plane. I'm sitting in coach. He comes back and he says, "Hey, partner, you think I'd really make a good wrestling manager? I might try that." He's a cross between Stu.
Stu, the Stu Hart of the Dungeons. I like to make people piss themselves.
And that. He was a little cross. He's almost Stu, but he was a character boy. And he was at the show. And here comes DDP, bro. Nobody's ever worked harder with less athletic ability, natural athletic ability, to become a star as Paige Falkenberg.
It really is remarkable that he was as big of a star as he was, and he got started as late. He just has a story unlike anybody else, and it really does, speak to, that he practices what he preaches. I mean, this is a guy who, against all reason and logic, and he should not have been a giant success in wrestling, but here he is, and he was.
Yeah. Hard work and determination. No compromise in DDP's work ethic. No compromise in his mindset, his beliefs. His DDP yoga entity is doing great. It's changed a lot of lives. It's working for a lot of people. I'm really happy for Dallas. Check that out sometime. He's all over social media. He's got a beautiful facility there in Atlanta. I've been to it 2 or 3 times. Really nice. But he became a student of the game. He was motivated by the greats, including the Dream. So I got a lot of time for Dallas. I'd just like to have $1 for every time during one day he says, "Bro." I take me a vacation. So we'll see what he does here with Big Brian. Now this is after his crush days, right?
Yeah, this is after his crush days. He's on the back 9 here. He's part of the NWO, black and white. At this point, the NWO has been fractured into the Wolf Pack, the black and red, and now this version as well.
That was a big issue. I thought the NWO got overexposed, watered down, better term maybe.
We lost Brian when he was only 43 years old, which is
sad, man. What a nice guy he was. He was a great friend of The Undertaker and a lot of those guys. I know that Brian was, somebody told me one time, I said, "How tough?" He said, "You know how tough that guy is in real life?" And I said, "I had no idea." I said, "I wouldn't want to find out." And he said, "Oh man." So apparently, he had a real nasty reputation as being a tough dude, but he was such a sweetheart. You never would have realized it just by meeting him. Hawaii laid back demeanor. Oh, DDP's found a spot. He's looking to go with the top rope, folks.
I don't know if you know this, but Bryan Adams, when he was in the Air Force, started boxing. So if you're going to start boxing in the military, you probably know a thing or two about a thing or two.
You can defend yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know a thing or two, Conrad, because you've seen a thing or two.
Well, one of the things I do know is, there's too many conversations that we have to have when we watch these old shows about guys who are no longer with us. Guys like Bryan Adams, guys like Pee Wee Anderson in the ring, who just got his job back.
Bam Bigelow.
Oh, there's so many guys on this card who are just no longer with us, and lots of different presentations over the years for Crush. The Demolition Crush and the Hawaiian Crush, and then Crush that was part of the Nation, and then Crush the Bison, and then DDP standing to his feet here, blocks the punch from Bryan Adams. Feels like this is the standard Hulk Hogan style finish for the setup for the finish. And you see the fans reacting to it in a big way, throwing up the Diamond Cutter sign. At its hottest, I think the Diamond Cutter was the hottest move of the business, even hotter than the Stone Cold Stunner, but I'm sure you would disagree with that.
Well, probably because just the results it got. Hey, look, it wasn't good. Damn right. It was very, very good, but I am a little biased. So take that for what it's worth. But again, you can't say too much about the work ethic and the drive and the will to be great, because Page was not at an age when he got mid-30s, 35 or something. And he just, that stunner or that Diamond Cutter off the top, the fans going crazy. The little Diamond Cutter sign. I don't know if he got all of it or not. Is that going to be the finish? And it is. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. But nonetheless, Dallas couldn't afford it mid-30s to be okay. He had to be great to get to the top of the card at that age, and everything. So I've always had great respect for him. I used to love getting on or being around him, let's say, I'd see him sitting somewhere in like the ringside during the early afternoon. And I'd say something like, Paige Falkenberg, please report to baggage claim. He'd look around. He's fun to bullshit with. So there's what name to use on this thing?
That was Vincent, the former Virgil. And down goes Bryan Adams, Diamond Cutter off the top rope. In this era, he was trying to show you all the different ways he could hit this maneuver. He hit this one right off the top rope. That's your finish, of course. 1, 2, 3. DDP gets the win and then leaves through the crowd. And now, man, we're set up for our main event.
I think Page entering and leaving through the crowd is one of the smartest things that he could have done. I think it has really galvanized the popularity in a large sense in that area for John Moxley, because Moxley does the same thing. So they're emulating a little DDP thing there, obviously, and it's working for Moxley, and it certainly worked for Dallas.
And here we see where he's supposed to be getting ready to come to the ring in the main event to have a rematch for his only loss. Instead, he's banging his head against the wall in the police station. And now the cops are here to say, hey, she's dropped the charges. She's admitted she's lying. She broke down in questioning, and he's demanding, get these cuffs off of me now. So Goldberg's going to race back to the arena, but is he too late?
It's too late to say you're sorry. It's too late to say you're proud.
So they're going to load him up, as he says, take me to the dome. He's going to get a police escort to the dome. And of course, we're acting like he's got to go by car, and it's a long way off. It's really right beside the arena, but whatever.
Michael Buffer looks good, huh?
Michael Buffer, man, he made the matches feel special for WCW. This one stands out, as did any. I mean, if if Michael Buffer's there, because he wasn't announcing the other matches. He wasn't introducing Billy Kidman and Hoovy Juice. He's introducing the world title, the main event.
Yeah.
I like a little garnish to make it feel special.
Yeah. Good booking, Conrad. You're right. Sorry to interrupt you. Really, this son of a bitch is a great entrepreneur. He's made lots and lots of money, with his look and his voice, his cadence. I know he's greatly respected by our ring announcer, George Hamilton Jr., better known as Justin Roberts, on the AEW show. who, by the way, does a hell of a job. He's another one of our somewhat dissidents that feel like he's been wronged or shortchanged. You know, we got a lot of those guys from a previous employee, i.e. WWE in this occasion, and a lot of guys other than that felt like they didn't get the shot that they deserved, and now they get it in AEW on Wednesday night. So, but Buffer does a hell of a job. He started making me forget about some of the bullshit that we had to endure to get here, because he took my mind off of it. Now I feel big. I feel I'm investing in something very, very special. And as it would work out, it was pretty special.
It's pretty remarkable that this is where we are. The fans are excited, and here comes Hulk Hogan, but not in his typical garb. He's got the black bandana on. He's got a black skin tight, like dress t-shirt on. He's got black slacks and a belt on, not a wrestling belt, just a regular old pair of conventional slacks and a traditional belt. And he's in tow. He's seconded by another member of the Black and White, Scott Steiner rather. Talk to me a little bit about, the idea that the main event now has changed. From your perspective, a wrestling traditionalist, we've promised Goldberg, Kevin Nash. We've had a quote unquote logical, even though it's not really logical explanation as to why Goldberg's not here. We're not delivering it. Did we get a little too cute? Did we outthink ourselves just a little bit? Should we have just delivered the match we promised, the one that drew the house at Starrcade?
I don't dislike the soap opera. I thought that it took a lot longer to get to the end of the road than it should have, with all the cop stuff and the Miss Elizabeth stuff and the Goldberg being arrested and interrogated. Goldberg in that picture earlier, he was ramming his head on that wall that you could tell that loosened the pictures because they started sliding. He wasn't a real finesse guy, Billy. It wasn't. So, but yeah, I thought they could have expedited a little bit more, but hey, here we are. But again, remember, you're putting your talent in a situation where they got to close a 3-hour show. And I almost said 3-hour tour, thinking of Gilligan's Island.
Man, that's what we all do every Monday night now. We go on a 3-hour tour and nobody hears from us again.
Yeah, we're on the Minnow. That's the name of that boat. God, I remember the dumbest shit that means nothing in my life.
No, everybody does.
Nash looks great.
Very cool entrance, ton of pyro for him, even to the point where it shocked Nash. He turned around like, wow, all this, and it's still going. And this is the biggest, match or draw around. And here you go. He's got a second. If Scott Steiner can walk out with Hulk Hogan, who's going to have his back? Who else but the returning Scott Hall, also in the Wolfpack red and black shirt, the guy who used the old shock stick on Goldberg himself at Starrcade.
That toothpick in hand or in mouth.
By the way, if you remember earlier in the promo, as they have the big embrace here, Nash said, hey, Goldberg got screwed at Starrcade, but the guy who screwed him is now walking to the ring with him. What's up with that? We'll find out.
Oh yeah. The plot thickens, kids. The plot thickens. And the thing about it is that if you try to make every single second in a pro wrestling storyline or angle make common sense, you're challenged, and especially in today's world, today's talents. So don't overthink it. Is my point.
Right.
I'm the worst at that shit. I'm not. And this is a pot calling the kettle black for you guys to overanalyze. I do the same damn thing on a lot of stuff in my life, including football. But the wrestling, don't let it just happen. Let it roll out and see what you think. There's Scotty Steiner. He's going to steal the spotlight because of his look. I'm surprised Hogan picked Steiner because Steiner's arms were bigger than Hulk's at that time.
Maybe they were trying to do like the WrestleMania version of a McMahon in every corner with a Scott in every corner.
Maybe. So now they're jaw jacking, filling a little bit of time because that he doesn't want this match to be long. Hogan's not going to go long. Nash is not going to go long. This is all about the Shakespeare. They're going to walk and talk it, old school walk and talk, get in the ring, milk, build anticipation, and then we're going to transact our business. And what they're doing right now is they're giving Goldberg the time to make that drive from the police station at a yet to be named precinct house and get to the Georgia Dome.
Little mockery
they're milking it. And so that sets up the great entrance, right?
And now they've agreed to ring the bell here.
But wait, there could be more. But they're doing their job. They're Shakespeareing the son of a bitch up to where you're sitting on the edge of your seat. This, so far, so good. Again, we know the backstory here. It takes it all. It takes a little off the feel of the angle, but what they're doing, they meaning Hogan and Nash, is exactly textbook. It's exactly what you do with this hand that you've been dealt.
I mean, the crowd's into it. Look at the crowd. They're at a fever pitch.
It's maybe the greatest night in history of our sport.
Oh God, I love you for that. Here we go. Are you ready?
Yes, sir, man. Nash is inviting him in. A massive hand plant on the chest. Fever pitch. They're building a fever pitch here, Conrad. I need to go pee, but I can't.
Here it comes. You ready?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm ready.
We've never seen before. Here we go.
Finger poke, big bump by Nash from his better ones. A lateral press by the Hulkster. 1, 2, and 3 from Pee Wee Anderson. And the celebration begins. And all four guys, the adversaries, the seconds, Scott, Kevin, and Hulk are celebrating. Because Hulk Hogan, again, is the WCW Heavyweight Champion. Oh, my God. Wait, Conrad, there's more. Goldberg being led out of the police car.
He's here for his title shot, but he's too late. Kevin Nash doesn't have to give him a rematch because Kevin Nash isn't even the world champion.
Unlike a lot of wrestlers, Goldberg can actually jog and run. One of the biggest fallacies in the world is watch these guys do run-ins down the ramp back in the Raw days when they couldn't run. Had never played any sports where they really became proficient in running. Goldberg, you tell, he's an athlete. He's running. 275, 280, run like a big SUV.
Big roundhouse kick to the gut for the other Scott. Underhooks him, flips him over, and here comes Nash.
All goes down. Nash misses a clothesline, big kick. Down he goes, one big bump. Hogan now using the title belt as a weapon. So the Hulkster is hammering those right hands on Bill Goldberg as this crowd is in disbelief. They're waiting. They're waiting for that, the knockdown. And they're out of their seats. Goldberg looks like $1 million. He's getting some backup now. Yeah. Lex Luger.
Luger's in there to save the day and help his friend Bill Goldberg, or is he?
Oh, that son of a bitch. How dare him? And now, like a pack of hyenas, like a pack of dogs, Conrad. It's a 4-on-1 assault. Hogan's up, selling up, down like a drunk man. Boy, what a setup. This reminds me of the same psychology of when the Andersons turned on Dusty in the cage.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you just made that comparison, but I mean, it's in Atlanta. Similar.
Well, yeah. Well, the theory is you outsmart and outnumber the babyface, as Goldberg was in the painful human torture rack of Lex Luger, who once he let him down, didn't know what to do with him.
So talk to us a little bit about what you think of the decision to not deliver the main event and to do the finger poke instead.
Well, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Now, here's what I do like. I like the aftermath.
Right.
The cattle prod thing now that Scott Hall's using, Goldberg's been handcuffed to the bottom rope. All these heels are standing around. I love that because you get to make some heels out of some guys. And now Goldberg's going to like this. He get his shirt ripped off so people can see his massive body. But Nash did that. But yeah, it's great for the heels. And the fans are starting to throw shit in the ring now. It's just classic old school heel heat. And now Hogan, the new champion, NWO, was spray painted in red on the back of on Goldberg's back, and there's plenty of room on his back to write a PS if you wanted it. He's a big man.
I mean,
but it's classic heel strategy, Conrad. This is what heels do. They're stronger in numbers, and they're the biggest, baddest dogs in the yard when there's more of them than you. So they're doing things that people can understand. Being a bully, being whatever, you can understand this. You can identify with it in some case of bullyism, and that's what we're seeing here. So now they're shitting on the title belt with the NWO spray paint, and Hogan does a pretty nice job with that penmanship. Terry Bollea made A's in penmanship in grade school.
Well,
Tampa.
He signed enough autographs in his life. He ought to have it down pat.
Ooh, man, you ain't lying.
And that'll be the end of this week's episode. By the way, as this Nitro goes off the air, we should tell you that although this looked like on paper, it was going to be one of the biggest Nitros ever. When those 600,000 people changed the channel, they didn't come back. Raw got a 5.5 with a tape show, and Nitro got a 5. And Nash said this was one of those things that got everybody. He said the Smarks hated it because every one of them were just bending over because I told them no, the dollar bill's a little further. And then I stuck my whole foot up their ass and took their balls with it. And, he says this was done to set up a new NWO to create a line of heels for Goldberg to run through. And eventually he would regain the world title. That was the plan. They say, let's recreate what got us here. A stable of heel monsters to feed to Bill Goldberg. But in practice, that didn't wind up being the case. What do you think? You watched this show for the first time ever. Finger poke of doom Nitro. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle.
I would, cause I know the guys so well. I would be, the best I can give you is the thumbs in the middle. But it's starting to kind of, get limp wristed and kind of go down a little bit. I didn't like it. There's too much filler. They didn't have finishes when they could have had finishes, count outs and DQs that for no reason that, just were lame, ill conceived. Bookers and guys do that because they don't want to debate or talk to their talents. The talents, they're trying to make everybody happy, and you can't make everybody happy. And sometimes and look, if you're not that good a worker, you can't lose with some credibility, then you're not really that good a worker. And what are you doing here?
Right.
So that's how I look at it. I really do. And I know, well, JR, it's not you. You're not the wrestler. It's not your career. But think about it, folks. It's a fictitious world, I was trying to say, and we all know. So what the hell? You're cast today to get shot with an arrow. I don't want to get shot with an arrow. I don't want to be a cowboy. I want to be an Indian. What the fuck? So I've never understood a lot of that, quite frankly. I think it's some guys maybe don't even feel that way, but they think they're obligated to be a pain in the ass because other top guys have been a pain in the ass that have preceded them. But this doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense at all. So, but I didn't like the finger poke, even though Kevin took a nice flat back. There's got to be ways that Nash could have, that they could have done this without that by far, probably 100 ways, to where it was like you could tell this was not on the up and up, even more so than normal, but not on the up and up. And Nash did something that was silly that or whatever, but there's got to be other things there. But the post match on the heat was good. The only thing I'd have probably done on that was I'd have probably bloodied up Goldberg. You want something to bitch about, big boy? Here's something to bitch about. So we take your title, we screw you, take you to jail. You get caught, you get duped, you look like an idiot. Then we bust your ass open. Now what are you going to do about it? There's one of you, and look how many there is of us. Bring it. Well, and that's how you sell that.
We're going to bring it to you next week. We're going to talk about Bret Hart returning to the WWE in 2010. And then on the 16th, we'll talk about JR's last Clash of the Champions. It was Clash 22. On the 23rd, we'll revisit Royal Rumble 2000 on our 20-year anniversary. And then we'll do the same for Royal Rumble 2005 on January 30th. That'll be a 15-year anniversary. We're looking forward to what we've got coming up here. At least I am. And we appreciate you guys tuning in here every single week. It's only on Westwood One, Thursday mornings. Tell a friend, hit the subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review if you think we've earned it. And don't forget to pick up some of JR's new sauce. It's jrsbbq.com. And you can also pick up a shirt at jimrossshirts.com. As always, make plans to join us across the pond in February. We're going to be in London and in Manchester and in Glasgow for Inside the Ropes. So just check out Inside the Ropes for all your tickets there. And of course, here in Huntsville, we'll get things kicked off for that whole tour on February 5th at Stand Up Live. Tickets are on sale now at Super Show Live. And don't forget to catch Jim every single Wednesday on Dynamite Live for AEW. Why wouldn't you? It's on TNT. And we'll see you next week, next Thursday, and every Thursday right here on Grillin' JR on the mighty Westwood One. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.